Hi, welcome. I'm Dr. Quincy Gideon. I'm a licensed clinical psychologist and I specialize in trauma and codependency. Today we're going to talk a little bit about the basics of codependency so that you can see those symptoms coming from a mile away. Click to subscribe and like this post. Let's get started. So what is codependency? Codependency is a relational style that starts with intensity, chaos, and unpredictability, typically in childhood. Some people believe that trauma is the genesis of all codependency. We're going to talk about that in another video, but suffice it to say that trauma can create codependency, but mostly it's intensity, chaos, and unpredictability. There's 4 basic categories of symptoms that happen in codependency. The first is sensitivity to intensity, chaos, and unpredictability. You can imagine where that comes from, right? If you grew up in a household that is intense, chaotic, and really hard to predict what's happening next, it creates a bit of anxiety when that stuff starts to happen in your current life. It means that people typically have their feelers out, their emotional feelers out, and they're trying to predict when the next big bad thing is going to happen. This is a survival technique that you used in childhood in order to survive something that felt too overwhelming to you during those times. And then you carried that into adulthood, into your current relationships, where now you're really sensitive to people's moods, their intensities, the ways that you imagine that they might give you really harsh or mean feedback without you really expecting it. All of these things create a bit of a sensitivity and an anxiety around what happens when things get intense. The second big category of things that happen in codependency is totally neglecting all of those deep feelings that you've got inside of yourself. What happens in codependency is that in childhood, you're forced to sort of focus on the adults in your life. You caretake, you fix, you manage, you console, and you accommodate. When you move into adulthood and you're doing those same things again, it means that there's really no time for you to know what's going on inside of yourself. So you end up focusing a lot on everyone else around you and you have very little clue about how you feel about things, what is making you upset, how you're going to fix these issues, and how you're constantly violating your own boundaries. The third big category that we look for in codependency is a preoccupation with the thoughts, feelings, and behaviors of other people. And when I say preoccupied, I mean preoccupied. I mean when someone sends you an email and they might have a feeling about you because they put a period instead of an exclamation mark, you spend the day preoccupied and ruminating over what you might have done to upset them, what you might have done to cause this big bad thing that's going to happen, which you imagine will be very disruptive to your life. That is codependency. We are preoccupied with what's going on outside of ourselves, which again causes us to neglect what's happening inside of ourselves. One of the ways that this can play out is that we're trying to control outcomes in other people. By trying to control the behaviors and the feelings of people, we think that we might be able to control the outcome. Of course, that's not true, but it's a thing that you used in childhood to manage the really unmanageable feelings that were going on inside of you, of anxiety and fear of what was going to happen next. Another way that this can show up is that you try to prevent people from feeling. So you might find yourself saying, don't feel that way, or don't do that, and really worried about what happens if someone gets upset or angry or anxious about something. You immediately move into fixing it because having them feel that way has always had really negative impact on you in the past. And the fourth big category that happens in codependency is burnout and exhaustion. So again, you are the fixer, you are the go-getter, you are the person that steps in any crisis. You've done that for such a long time that you are exhausted. You're overwhelmed most of the time, and you're typically trying to fix problems that, because they're not yours, you don't actually know fully how to fix them, right? This can lead you to feeling like you never have any time for yourself. You never know what to do with all of your the crises, and you're working really hard to manage chaos, but it's not working. And why is it not working? Because you're managing on behalf of someone else instead of allowing them to take responsibility for their own thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. Therefore, you're stuck in a cycle where you are exhausted, overwhelmed, and you've got a one-way ticket to Burnout City. I hope this was helpful. Comment below if you have any questions and we'll get back to you.